Welcome back. Let's carry on taking a look at our Laravel blog. Let's go ahead and load it up. Now if you'll remember, we currently have a home page and we have a view page that accepts the slug. What we want to do is we want to tell Laravel to use blade templating. So let's go ahead and let's load up our project and let's take a look at the blade template that came with Laravel. You'll find it inside resources, views, and then there'll be a welcome.blade.php. Now let's go ahead and have a look at this. So let's load up our home controller, which is inside HTTP, controllers, and then home controller. And let's replace a return with a return view. And what this function will do is it will look inside the views folder for any template that we specify, in this case welcome. So let's go ahead and refresh, and you can see that we have Laravel 5 back. So now that we have our template back, let's go ahead and clean this up. Let's get rid of this view welcome. Let's start on the folder structure here. So inside views, we're going to create a new folder, and it's going to be called blog. Let's go ahead and type that out. Now inside this folder, let's go ahead and create a new file, and we will save this as index.blade.php. And let's go ahead and let's write some default text in here. So I'll just say I am the index page of the home controller. So let's go ahead and save that. And the next thing we need to do is we need to change our return here once again to say return a view. But this time we're going to look inside the blog folder. So we'll say blog, and because it's dot notation we'll just add a period. And we're going to say index. The index refers to the file name that we have created here. Let's go ahead and refresh our page. You'll see that I'm the index of the home controller. Now that we have our index done, let's do one for the view. Right click, say new file. I'm going to save this as view.blade.php. And let's write in just some dummy text here. So I'm going to say I am the view action, and I am accepting the slug, and we'll pass a variable here. We'll just name it slug. Let's go ahead and save this. So let's go back to our home controller. Let's change our view function to return a view. Remember that we need to look inside the blog, so blog.view, and next we're going to pass in some parameters. So what we're going to pass in is the slug. So we'll make sure that we have a slug variable, and we're going to pass in the slug that we get accepted. So if we go back and we look at this, we'll say view, and we'll just type in something here. You can see that I'm the view action and I accepted the slug of something too. So the one thing to remember that this variable, this is the blade variable. So we can name this blade slug, and if we go into our actual template, we would have to name it here blade slug as well. So to test this theory, let's just go back, let's change something to the blade variable. You can see that it accepted the variable and displayed it on our page. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean this back up, change those back to slugs, and let's move on. So right now our blog doesn't look very good, but let's use some master files. So I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm just going to call it layouts. And in this folder I'm going to create a new file, and I'm just going to call it master.blade.php. Now this file, this will be our one template that will work on everything else. So right now I'm just going to write I am the master file. Now in order to use this, we're going to have to extend this file. So we can use a blade directive just called extends. And now we just need to use dot notation, so layouts.master. So if we save this, we reload our blog, you'll see that we have I am the index page of the home controller, then I am the master file. And we'll fix this later. But now that we know our master file is being pulled in, what we need to do is we need to use sections of our master file. Using the sections will notify Blade of what content to actually yield and where. So in our master file, we can say let's yield, and spell this right, yield content here. So even though we have this I am the master file and we're telling it to yield content, in our index file we're not actually giving it any sections. So if we refresh, we don't notice anything different. So if we come back and we add a section, let's just call it content, and we'll stop that section. When we refresh our page, we'll notice that everything is now correct. We have the master file, and then we have the index page of the home controller. For our project here, we're just going to be using Bootstrap. So let's head on over to getbootstrap.com. And the easiest thing we can do is grab an example. You will find all the examples at the bottom of the Bootstrap page. So scroll all the way down, click examples, and let's start with the starter template. So let's go ahead and load this up. We'll just view the page source, copy all this, and let's put this in our master file. So what we'll do is we'll just get rid of everything we have, copy it in, and now let's just start with some cleanup here. So if we go to the top, notice that we have some fave icons that we don't need yet. Let's get rid of that. We'll also change our title. We have a link to the Bootstrap CSS. We also have some IE hacks, which for now we'll just get rid of. Let's go all the way down to the bottom to our JavaScript. See, we have a call to Ajax, to the jQuery library, and let's get rid of the rest of the assets. So the next thing we need to do is we need to actually go to the Bootstrap page itself. We'll scroll all the way up, and you'll see a Bootstrap Cdn. So we're going to copy this link in here, and we'll go back to our master file, go all the way to the top, and let's replace our bootstrap.min.css with this link here. Now that we have our CSS, let's do the same with our JavaScript. So on the same page, you'll notice that we have another CDN for our Bootstrap Javascript. Let's go ahead and copy that link. Make sure we're at the bottom of our template. Let's replace that source with this one. So we can come back, we can check out our blog. We can see that it kind of looks okay, but everything is pushed up. That's because in the example, if we take a look at it, they currently have a starter template.css. So let's just copy this in, and let's make our own CSS file. So what we'll do in public, we'll make a new folder, and this folder I like to call assets. And then within our assets folder, I'm going to create a new folder. I'll just name this one CSS. Finally, we can drill into assets in CSS and create a new file, and we'll name this one template.css. Now that we have our CSS in there, we need to tell our master file about this new CSS. So let's go ahead to the top. I'm going to take our pre-existing CSS link and just duplicate it, add in a comment for custom CSS, and I'm going to replace the link with a helper function. And this function is just called asset. And what asset will do is it will tell your project to look anything that's in public. So currently we want assets CSS, so we'll say assets/CSS, and then what we want to refer to is template.css. I'll make sure I put that slash in. So when I save this, I come back and I take a look at our blog. You can see that everything finally looks proper. The only thing that we're actually missing is the content. So let's scroll down and let's take out the starter template here. Let's replace it with a yield. So we'll say yield, and then the section we want to yield is content. Let's go ahead and add that in and save. So if we come back and we do a refresh, we can say I am the page content of the home controller. So the very next thing that we would need to do is we would need to change our view to also extend the master. So we'll say extends layouts dot master, and then we need a section for content, and in this one I'm just going to wrap it in a row in a column medium of 12 and just paste what we had in there. So if we come back to our blog and we say view slash, I'm just going to type in something here, so some variable, you can see that now we have our master and it accepted some variable. So now that we've talked about sections, the other thing that we need to have a quick look at is including content. So a section basically we have to define. So if we were using a navigation section, this means that all our files will have to have a navigation. Now what we can do is we can use partials. So inside layout I'm going to create a folder called partials, and in partials I'm going to create a new file to hold all this navigation item, or sorry, this all navigation code. So I'm going to right click and just say new file, and I will just call this one navigation.blade.php. And I'm just going to paste in our navigation HTML here and save that. Now, if we take a look at the home page, we might see something different. So let's get rid of this and just go to the home page. And oops, I messed up. So I didn't save the master file. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Come back and refresh my page. We'll see that the navigation bar is gone. That is because we're not including it anywhere, and we didn't want to yield a navigation constantly. So in Laravel we could say include, and this is dot notation as well. So we want to go into layouts, dot partials, and then we're going to include our navigation.blade.php. So now that we are including our navigation, let's test this out. So switch over to Chrome, hit refresh, and you can see our navigation bar is left there. One benefit of having a small HTML file is we can change anything here that's automatically included in our master file. So this gives us a huge benefit on keeping our code clean. One of the other things we can do with some yields and sections is we can come back to our master file and we can yield some JavaScript. So at the bottom of our master, let's just say yield, and we'll just call this one scripts. So what this would be useful for is, say if on our view page we had some script that needed to run. So in this case, I'll just open up our view here. And if we go to make a new section here, so we'll say section script. I'm pretty sure I called it scripts. Let me just double check here. So if we have this section called scripts, what we could do is on this view page itself, let's say for instance we'll just have an alert, I will only be fired on the view page. And what this allows us to do in the Blade template is on the home page really doesn't do anything. But if we go to view something, you can see that that script is fired. So on any of the pages that we actually need a specific JavaScript, it will only be included for that page itself. So you can see here on the home page, if we view the source, we don't have any extra JavaScript in there. So that was a pretty quick rundown of the HTML in our blog. In the next video we'll get actually into it and we'll start coding some views and some routes. Thanks.